Thank you to Red Cloud for having us today to present the story of Caldas Gold. Caldas Gold's primary focus is a mine expansion into the deep zone at our Marmato Project. It's located in a historic mining district about 80 kilometers south of Medellin, and the target for the company is to build Colombia's next major gold mine. The company was formed in February of this year through a reverse takeover transaction to get a listing on the TSXV, and we followed that up with a listing on the OTCQX. Gran Colombia currently holds a 53.5% equity interest in Caldas. And as I said, we're focused on a major underground mine expansion at Marmato to incorporate the deep zone. Our current mining operation at Marmato has been producing since 1991 and does about 24,000 ounces a year. And we have a planned expansion for the upper zone, as well as the construction of the deep zone. The project's been heavily drilled over the years, and we're continuing to drill both the deep zone extension, as well as looking at expanding the size of the ore body, which remains open at depth and open to the north and the east. We've completed financing this summer, which I'll talk through a little more of the details later in this presentation. But we're now in a position to move ahead with the project, given the funding that we've raised over the course of the summer. We have about 100 million shares outstanding at the moment, and another 55 million warrants and stock options that, if all would be exercised, would bring in another 150 million Canadian of proceeds to the company. We completed a subscription receipts offering at the end of August. We're currently in the middle of qualifying that for early trading with a prospectus that we filed with the OSE. And once exchanged, that will split out into $83 million of gold notes and an additional 16.6 million warrants that'll be trading with the existing warrants under the CGC.WT symbol on the TSXV. We have an experienced management team with demonstrated operating experience in Colombia, proven success, so certainly the track record over the last 6 years with the turnaround at Gran Colombia. We've got a focus on building mines and implementing world-class health and safety standards in our operations, and a platform built around ESG. So I think a very compelling investment proposition, given the strength of the team and working in projects of this nature. And we've had a very busy year this year, starting with the RTO in February. COVID kicked in March, and I'll talk a little bit more about what we've done during COVID. We've continued to drill, and we've released drill results in a couple of press releases this year, and we expect to have further news in the coming weeks on an update on the drilling program that we're continuing to do at Marmato. Over the summer, our focus has been on raising the financing so that we can take the Marmato project forward. In July, we completed the acquisition of the Juby project, which I'll also speak to this morning. We announced the pre-feasibility study results for Marmato in July, and in October, we filed a resource update for Juby, updating it from the original 2014 TEMEX resource. Our primary focus during COVID has been twofold. One is protecting our workforce. We've put in all the protocols in Marmato so that we can continue operating. We did suffer some setbacks in the second quarter of this year when the national quarantine in Colombia limited access of workers for the mine and resulted in about a 40% shortfall in production compared to normal. But since July, we've seen the situation improving, and by August and September, as we've reported in our production releases, we've gotten back to a full complement of workers. We're implementing the optimized mine plan that we've set out in the PFS for Marmato, and we've turned in a couple of really solid months with improved grades as we've expected. So we feel right now we're on track to deliver our guidance this year, which will be somewhere between 24 and 26,000 ounces of gold at Marmato. And the second focus of our COVID response has been around the communities. The communities have really suffered through the pandemic with restrictions and low availability of things such as protein groceries. So we've stepped in, we've donated food, we've donated sanitation kits, face masks, medical supplies to hospitals, and really cemented our relationship with the community as we've re-engaged through the early stages of Caldas Gold. The Marmato project focuses on a very large ore body in the middle of the mountain of Marmato. The upper zone is characterized by vein-style mineralization. As I mentioned earlier, we've been mining it since 1991 using cut and fill mining method and a 1,200 ton a day Merrill-Crowe plant. The plan is to expand the upper mine plant to 1,500 tons a day, as well as optimizing the mining method to reduce dilution and increase production starting next year. The deep zone is characterized by porphyry-style mineralization. There's no current mining plan there right at the moment. What we are going to do is invest $269 million to put in a mechanized mining operation in that deep zone. We're going to add a new 4,000 ton a day plant, and we'll start production on the project in about the middle of 2023. Now, when you look at a satellite image of the project, you can see that the existing mining operation there with the star on the left-hand side, the processing plant and the mine portal, and then just to the bottom, the tailings storage facility, which is dry stack that supports that operation. In the middle of that satellite image, you can see the MDZ portal. From there will be a ramp driven towards the north where you can see an outline of the where the deep mineralization is located in the middle of the mountain. There'll be a decline circulating through the ore body. Mechanized equipment will bring that material up to an underground crusher, which will then send it by conveyor back up to the MDZ portal and into the neighboring MDZ plant. There's also two new tailing storage facilities that will be built. Half the material will be stored in the tailing storage facilities, which will also be dry stack, and the balance will go back into the mine as cemented backfill. The project has great access to infrastructure. The national power line runs near the project, and you can see on the right-hand side of that aerial photograph the Calca River and the Pan American Highway that run past the project. The drilling so far has brought us up to a total measured and indicated resource of 4 million ounces of gold and 2.2 million ounces of inferred material. We're continuing to drill to upgrade more of that, but we currently, out of that, have 2 million ounces of gold in reserves, on which we've built the PFS, about 1/3 of that in the upper zone, the veins and transition area, and then we've got the other 2/3 of that, 1.3 million ounces in the deep zone. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a two-mine operation in place. The upper mine's going to be optimized and should, by next year, double production up to almost 50,000 ounces of gold production in 21 and 22. We'll be improving the grades by reducing dilution, and we'll be expanding the tons by increasing the size of the plant from 1,200 to 1,500 tons a day. That brings us with the reserves to a 13-year mine life at 4.2 grams average gold grade. And then the deep zone, where we'll invest $269 million. That'll be spent over the next couple of years. That'll bring us to mid-23 to start up the operations from the deep zone. And there's a 10.5-year life starting in 2023 with an average grade of almost 3 grams per ton. We've done our studies at $1,400 gold and have very attractive margins, considering the cash cost is under $800 an ounce over the life of the mine and under $900 for AISC. A 20% IRR at $1,400 gold and a very short payback by 2026. And we continue to see, with gold prices hang where they are, we'll have much more robust financial returns from this project. And so this summer we went out and completed a couple financings led by Scotiabank and Canaccord Genuity. At the end of July, we completed a $50 million bought deal, which consisted of 22 million shares and 22 million warrants at $275. And in August, we completed an $83 million subscription receipts financing. That's an $83 million gold note structured along the lines of the Grand Columbia gold notes, which have been very well received in the market. We expect to have them listed in the short period of time now, just completing the prospectus with the OSC for that. And there'll be another 16 million warrants added to the existing warrants that are already trading. All of the proceeds will fund the Marmato expansion. And we're complementing that with a $110 million stream. We signed a non-binding term sheet earlier this summer with Wheaton, and within the next couple of weeks, we do expect to sign the binding executed PMPA with Wheaton for that project. It's a 6.5% stream on gold and 100% stream on silver until we reach certain thresholds of gold and silver delivered, at which point it'll step down to about 50%. And Wheaton will pay us a cash payment of 18% of spot gold and silver. And then once that step down kicks in, that'll increase to 22%. We feel very blessed with the relationship with Wheaton. It's a great external validation from someone. The work that they've done going back to last September and their site visits, I think, have given them tremendous confidence in the project. And Randy Smallwood certainly has made some very positive comments about the potential size and opportunity for growth for this world-class ore body. So we're very pleased with our performance, our relationship with Wheaton, and we think that it's great validation of this project. And we think the optimism comes from the drilling that we've been doing at the project. Here, looking at the deep zone in the orange and yellowish and red area. As we continue to drill, we find that the grades have been going up. We also find that it's open at depth. And so we're continuing to drill for extension on the project. And we've also found, looking here from the side view of the ore body, you can see in behind the new zones that we've identified running parallel. And we've since been doing some further step-out drilling that we'll announce the results of shortly, and finding that this ore body just has the propensity to get bigger as we're drilling. And we expect an increase in reserves when we update the PFS study in the middle of next year. So a very exciting exploration upside at Marmato. The other asset that we've added into the package this summer was the acquisition of the Juby project in Ontario. It's an advanced stage exploration gold project along the about a 10-kilometer strike length of the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. It's an underappreciated area, the Shining Tree area, that's starting to get a bit more attention with the recent announcement from IAMGOLD about the startup of development at Côté, as well as Platinum and Ore Finders, which are neighbors, and now they're starting to put some funds into exploring their project. We recently updated the resource estimate. The previous resource done by Temex in 2014 was a global resource. We've now reported a 43101 compliant in-pit resource with 773,000 ounces of indicated at 1.13 grams and another 1.5 million of inferred. We're very excited about the opportunity here. We see the potential for open pit mining, several pits that have been identified, including the Juby main zone and the Golden Lake deposit. The Golden Lake deposit was drilled by Tahoe back in 2018, and the updated resource does include some extensions of that resource from that drilling. There's also two additional areas that have been drilled less, which is the Big Dome and Hydro Creek projects, which are in more volcanic type rock, and we're very curious to see what we'll discover in the exploration that we're going to do there. We are setting ourselves up right now for a drilling program in 2021 to really take Juby forward and understand the potential for eventual development of that asset. So one last slide before we go to the Q&A portion, which just want to highlight. This is a really exciting project. It's ground floor. It's highly attractive project. This Marmato ore body is been known for quite some time. It's finally getting an opportunity. It's funded to move ahead. We see equity re-rating potential as we take it from development of the deep zone into full production of the deep zone in the next couple of years. The validation from Wheaton, the support from Gran Colombia bode well for the success of this project. We have a strong management team with experience, and we think that our commitment to ESG, which is at the root of our DNA in both Caldas Gold and Gran Colombia, is going to help this project move along socially. And we have a significant exploration upside that we're continuing to tap into and very keen to see the results from. So I also suggest you go to our website. On the homepage, there's a Moon Patrol video there that will take you through the deep zone in about 3 minutes and give you some additional views on topography and layout of the project. And thank you for your time this morning.
All right. Hey, thanks, Mike. We've definitely got time for some questions. So I guess the first question I have is, you're sitting on 2 million ounces of inferred resource at Marmato. Can you give us an indication of how much of that is in the deep zone and really just requires additional infill drilling to move it and upgrade it to M&I and eventually reserve potential?
Yeah, the drilling we're doing, we've got about $6.5 million of drilling over the next 12 months. I'd say about 60% of that is going to be focused on the deep zone infill drilling. our goal is to increase that reserve by about 40% by the time we get to middle of next year, and have an even more robust future mine life ahead of us. So we are getting good results there. And then we also, the other 40% of that drill program is looking at the extensions. And I mentioned we've already identified some new zones running parallel within a very short distance of the main zone. And more recently, as we'll announce shortly, continue to drill further out, looking at the extension of the zones. And we're quite pleased with what we're finding. So this deposit continues to show the propensity to get bigger as we keep drilling, and that's, I think, one of the really exciting points about Marmato.
All right, yeah, definitely. Look, and I guess the other question is, you've really set up a large capital project, or a reasonable size capital project, and you've looks like you've done the bulk of the financing to be able to embark upon that project. How do you feel about capital versus what you have in your treasury? And, just thinking about, sometimes projects run over budget. And so what are your thoughts at this point in time? And can you give us an indication of how strong you feel the financial position of Caldas is?
Yeah, I think the financing we've done gives us, we've done a combination, as you can see, of financing this summer. We added some equity to bolster the balance sheet, give us some more equity strength. We've added the gold notes, which again give us if you will, a sort of a mini stream to investors, but with a finite life. Something certainly where we're using less than 9% of the projected production to service the debt. So we find that's a nice piece of paper inside, and certainly being listed on the exchange gives shareholders an opportunity to get a return on gold through our gold notes. And then adding in the Wheaton stream gave us some capital flexibility in a low-cost stream that we estimate is about a 7% cost of capital, and a pretty strong partner to work with us. So that package of financing we've done gives us a really good beginning to run with. The proceeds from the bought deal are what we're going to live off for the next about 9 months as we take the project forward. The proceeds from the stream and ultimately from the subscription receipts currently are all held in escrow. The main gating item there is the extension of the title license. That's moving very well along, and we expect to have that completed by the end of this year. Those monies aren't required till later next year, so it doesn't pose any capital or construction risk to us. And we feel with the warrant funds that are out there, including some held by Gran Colombia that could be executed, we certainly have some additional capital availability, and we do plan to look at some lease financing for the mobile equipment underneath. So we do feel very confident we have the capital that we need to build this project. Lombardo Paredes, our president, has done a tremendous job managing our capital execution in Gran Colombia, and he's at the top of the project team overseeing what they're going to do, managing the capital in Caldas. So we feel we have the capital control to stay within budget. There's a $33 million contingency inside that, $269 million. We're going to attempt not to spend that, bring this in on time and under budget.
Great answer. Thank you very much. And of course, you are going to be gradually ramping up gold production from the upper mine. And at current prices, you're probably going to be seeing more cash flow generated from those operations than you had anticipated. Look, Mike,
I was going to say we have built that in as well. We do expect cash flow, and that largely that upper mine cash flow is going to be covering the capital expansion we need for the upper mine.
Sounds great. Look, we've run out of time. Mike, thank you very much for a great presentation and update on Caldas Gold.
Great. Well, I appreciate everybody's time this morning. Thank you.